Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we discuss current happenings in the country, one of which is on the lips of almost everybody is regarding that of the likely bullying or molesting of a 3-year-old child in Lagos, and presently reports have it that the school have suspended that teacher, and then presently that teacher is going through suspension, talking about one Mrs. Stella, who actually slapped a child during lessons in school, and we're seeing that that has actually caused a number of reactions coming from everybody who actually saw that video. So we really have to commend the school for that move, as well as we hope that this will serve as a deterrent to those who are actually planning to go in the same line. I am Sarah Lashida Shoma doing this program alongside Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just had to quickly give people the heads up because I mean we saw that story in the morning, and it seems to still be
Of
the
course.
current discussion where we're seeing that the teacher currently is going through suspension, and I hope that we should actually check, because it looks more like that teacher must have been molesting or maltreating, in other words, because you just cannot help just because the child couldn't write the number 6 and then you actually slap that child. The child is presently in the hospital, so you could actually tell what will warrant such a behavior from a teacher. But I have to commend the Lagos state government for moving very fast regarding that, and then as well as the school for suspending that teacher.
Stella, a 3-year-old is a toddler. That's still a baby. And you can't help but wonder, you made mention during lessons. And first of all, you would ask, why is a 3-year-old going through lessons? These are pupils that shouldn't spend more than 8 to 12 o'clock in school, and they are done for the day. And for this teacher to slap a 3-year-old, and she's a missus, it means to some extent she is also a mother herself. And the question is, why would you put yourself, would you slap your own 3-year-old if they cannot write the number 6? And we all know how children develop when it comes to education. A child might find the alphabet B very difficult to write, but every other alphabet is easy for that child. It might be Y, it might be T, it all depends on the alphabet. But she should be a teacher with experience and knowing fully well that what number 6 might be the number that this child is having difficulty. They might get to 5 years before they're able to write number 6. They might be even way older than that before they can really write number 6. It's just that number that is difficult. It's a sad one, and you can't put your frustration on a 3-year-old. The day you find yourself frustrated as a teacher is a sign for you that you are to stop teaching. You're no longer passionate about it. You're no longer deriving joy in it. And before you find yourself in the position where this woman is, you need to go find something else to do, or find a higher class to teach than the small ones, because their learning is way different from. So when you find frustration in them, see, I can't longer, life is not allowing me to teach these babies. Can I now take a higher class? You can go to maybe primary 5 or JSS 1 or SS. Just change the people the pupils that you are teaching, and to stop this kinds of thing. There are many when you teach for a while, you see a lot of teachers venting their frustration on children that they learn differently. It's not fair. It's not fair to the pupil. It's not fair to the parent. It's not also fair to the teacher, and all of that on so many levels. But yes, the action that was taken is the appropriate one. I do hope that this teacher doesn't lose her job at the end of the day, or her career entirely, but maybe just a point of her. And but if she has been doing it, I think she needs to go. If it's just the first time, then more investigation. If she needs a break from teaching and all of that, perhaps yes, she takes that break, make sure she's okay and really willing to come back before she
True, because one of the very important virtue for you to be a teacher, you need to be patient. Because students will frustrate you, just
They
like
will.
especially this toddler. They might not even be ready, just like you said. I mean,
Yes.
3 to 4 hours is what they need, and they are done. They want to play.
Yes, and
Nothing
sleep
else is
and
making
eat.
sense to
Yes.
them anymore. So we hope that we take the right action next time. Now, let's just take a look at some of the topics we love to discuss today, where we're seeing that National Assembly have condemned the execution of the 2024 budget. And one of the things they raise concern is the fact that we are seeing that recurrent expenditure is given more priority than the capital expenditure. And I clearly remember last year you categorically mentioned that the fact that we are seeing that you will see that in the whole budget, the recurrent expenditures having maybe about 80%, and they were saying capital expenditure having maybe just 20%. You wonder, I mean, the capital expenditure is what Nigerians feel better. This is where we feel the impact of governance, and you wonder why we are having the administration, according to the National Assembly of the Tinubu, paying more attention to the recurrent expenditure, where we're seeing the Senate, that's during the joint house, the Senate and the reps, frowning against that, and they are hoping that, what, for this 2025 budget, we hope that we'll see the recurrent maybe having just 40%, and then the capital expenditure having 60%. And I think this is really the right way to move, because, what I was saying, I said it's more like they listened to what you said last year regarding the budget that we actually saw the House passing.
Stella, when I saw this news, I just can't help but say that it looks like, and it appears that we have a bunch of hypocrites as our lawmakers on so many levels. Don't sit down and act as if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sat down, made the budget himself, and passed it into bill or executed it all by himself. It was presented to you, you reviewed it, you went through it, you took down some, you added some, and at the end of the day, even what he presented was what was approved at the end. You did your plus and minus, and we had it going up about over 1.5 trillion or thereabout, giving it the figure that the 2024 budget was, and we went to. So what I'm trying to say is that you saw the real current expenditure, and if I can rightly remember, it was around 9.09 trillion or thereabout. That was the real current expenditure, and we kept on talking about it. We talked over and over about it, and you could see the report showing that while senators like Adjola and then Chiri coming out and saying, you know what, we cannot continue with recurrent expenditures. And the report further have it that when it comes to the recurrent expenditure, it was able to perform 100%. And then when it came to that for capital, we're just looking at 25%. We're not even looking at 50%. And of course, why not? Recurrent expenditure would definitely be 100%. We're looking at money going into people's pocket. So, of course, it will be 100% performance. People will collect this money and put it in their pocket. Is this same recurrent expenditure that is about to buy a bulletproof SUV for generals? Is that same recurrent expenditure that is about to give our this same generals over 30 million naira in their pocket? So what are we talking about? It will perform 100%. And also it shows that there's hoarding of funds, because we are not done with 2024 budget. It is to elapse to 2025 before this budget is being passed, and I think it will start there about in the second towards the third quarter of the year 2025 and all of that. So you are sitting down and you're watching that there's hoarding of funds. You need to do something about it. You approve the real current expenditure, and of course it got a lot in it. Will even we are financing it with debt and loans and all of that, left, right, center as a country. So what are we looking forward to? The difference now will not be that only few, senators coming out to say this is not expected. And perhaps are they speaking because they were probably not in lucrative committees and all of that, or they didn't get the package as others? Are they in a minority caucus, or are they in the majority? You wonder from what point are they speaking, because others are not saying anything about it. We don't have the Senate president saying anything about it. We don't have the Speaker, House of Representatives saying anything about it, because it's a collective effort. Now, are you ready to cut down the cost of governance? If you're merging these MDAs, are you willing to put in measures in place that was okay, truly we are saving money, we are cutting down personnel costs and all of that. Because whether you like it or not, you too as senators, as members House of Representatives, have a lot that is going to you, that if we can cut down, then perhaps our recurrent expenditure won't gulp a chunk of the budget moving forward. So is everybody willing to do what they're expected to do? But then, can we even cut down the recurrent expenditure looking at the newly approved minimum wage? And it's expected that this wage should be paid regardless. At the federal government level, more recruitment needs to be done. We need to reduce our unemployment rate. It means that we need more people in the labor market, and as they are coming in, the minimum wage is also they are entitled to it and all of that. But where costs can be cut, I am looking forward to seeing senators that are willing to take the action. Perhaps you, the ones that are posing for this and moving for it, why not it begins with you? Then perhaps we would say that, you know what, you mean well for Nigeria, talk is cheap, but I am taking action to prove to you that I want to see a better Nigeria. And if I'm the only one making the sacrifice, so be it. But what needs to be done needs to be done.
And you already stated it, because looking at it and you wonder, I mean, didn't you look at the budget before passing it? So why? Because one of the problems we have is after things have been done, that is when we see people come and say, this shouldn't have been done this way.
Yes.
When you had the opportunity to actually kick against it, of course, we know the way it is with our lawmakers. If you're one of that person that's always outspoken, maybe they'll mute your mic so that you don't get to say anything to cause back and forth, and then they just want to move past it. But just like you said, we are looking forward to lawmakers that are willing to take the bull by the horn, ready to do the right thing, and looking at it and saying, you know what, we're saying that this budget is actually one is suffering, and then we really feel that we are supposed to be accountable to Nigerians, because this money you didn't generate it yourself. These are people, taxpayers paying money, and then yet they can't feel the impact. Roads are bad, hospitals are not there. We're seeing our doctors coming out to depend on AI because a number of people are not ready to put in the work. So sometimes you just look at things and then you just can't help but wonder what is happening. I mean, we saw what happened in Bauchi State in our paper. For just 4 laptops, we're looking at 400 million. And you wonder, are you telling me that every one laptop is costing about 100 million naira? So these are questions we need to ask. And I hope that even as followers, the more we're pointing fingers at our leaders, we should be ready to be good followers and ask the right questions. And I hope when we ask, we'll actually get the right answers in return. So let's just see when they resume. Hopefully by next week, they will be, maybe when they're done with their retreat, going back and forth the budget. I hope that they'll be smart enough to look into this and then weigh it and be sure that, you know what, our capital expenditure will not suffer eventually. Now we're looking at our telecommunications. I mean, we saw MTN already talking about this since last year, and it seems they're the only ones who did something in regard to the issue of, you know what, we want to increase our tariff. Because looking at the way things are happening, the increase in fuel price from last year when the removal of fuel subsidy was there, and then looking at our currency falling, and all of this. So we're seeing all these telecommunications coming out saying, you know what, we have to increase our tariff. And we saw where they actually said they will be increasing it by 100%, and subscribers were actually threatening to sue them, because, I mean, imagine instead of sending an SMS for 4 naira, you'll be sending it for 8 naira, and then data, instead of you maybe buying 1 gig for about 1,000 naira, you now be buying it at 2,000. And we know the way the data even goes. Richard, the moment you see it's like, and you cannot really tell exactly.
The bond rate is high.
Of course. So you just cannot help. Okay, even people are not even enjoying the services. I remember we spoke about DSTV last year as well when they wanted increasing their tariff. But then here we're seeing that the NCC say the fact that, you know what, we need to take time and actually look into this. And of course, we might consider you increasing the tariff, but of course, it's not going to be 100%, because maybe we should be looking at 510. But this depends on both the NCC and also the telecommunications, and then hoping to see that, you know what, they should be fair to subscribers as well, because we're not really enjoying their services. So if you want to increase the tariff, then we should enjoy your service as well.
So just like every sector, so is the telecommunication. feeling the blow of our current exchange rate in the country, and then what it takes to run a business. The cost of running a business have gone high, and then of course we can't sit down and say they don't have the right for a tariff increase. We saw that with power and every other services, even when it comes to hospital bills and all of that. We saw on one of the papers this morning where, you know, the government is moving to see that cesarean
Section, of course,
yes,
should be
in the
free.
hospitals are free, and we have doctors welcoming and saying it should be. The point is services, even in government-owned institutions that are expensive, the price have gone up. Talk more of us knowing that we have sold out our telecommunication, and it's strictly private, and it's profit first for them, regardless of how good their services and all of that. And I want to look at it at both ways, you know, despite the fact that, you know what, these telcos need to increase their tariff and all of that. Us as Nigerians also, Sele, because there's no way around it. We are backward in our digital growth. You know, it's a digital age. However, we are still backward. And why I want to say so is that to some extent, what is affecting us as a country when it comes to our expenses when it in telecommunication is that we consume both data and credit simultaneously.
True.
And this is where it brings us to the fact that if I will consume data alone, I don't have to worry about a call burn rate, because now everybody I need to communicate with is assumed should be having a smartphone, for instance, should have good data connection. Therefore, I should be able to use my data to make calls and communicate on whatever app I want to use, on whatever social media platform. I should be able to put a call through to you, Sele, on Facebook, and we're done. I pass on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on any social media platform. Then now I don't have the need to buy call time or credit or recharge card, however we decide to call it here. Then your focus is, okay, I have data, it covers for everything. But you see, you don't have a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone. If Sele, you have a smartphone, you want to come in and I don't have a smartphone, whether you like it or not, you can't get me on WhatsApp. You have to burn your call credit or unit to be able to reach to me. And this is where I believe that our expenditures become porous on a lot of levels, and you can't help it because there's that somebody you need to communicate with that you can't use your data, you have to. And for me to say, well, why don't you give the friend a smartphone, a friend in the village, I mean, or everybody just, you know, dash, make sure the people that are in your life are, if you can do that. But then in some villages, there are poor network coverage.
In fact, not even the village, even the urban
Exactly.
areas.
There are. And this is the reason why, rather than the government sitting down and just allowing certain things take place in the first place, we are having a mixed economy. We had no business going fully privatized when it comes to telecommunication. I should still be able to have a line, because even in the well-advanced countries, those things are still functional. You can go in and put a call in a distant place and people still have access to it. It makes communication very affordable. And the exploitation that we are going through with these telecommunication companies will be far less than what we are going through. Why didn't the government improve communication at its own level and still give room for the mobile phones or the cell phones that they begin to serve their own purpose? And then the kind of communication that the government have made provision for in the first, why didn't it continue to thrive and grow? So when we sit down and look at where we are, we can't just help but, you know what, be able to handpick some of the mistakes that our government have made, and there's no going back anymore. So what are Nigerians going to do? Are we going to deal with communication charges? Are we going to deal with electricity tariff? Or are we going to deal with transportation, the the price of fuel in the fuel station? Are we going to deal with inflation? And the thing is that all of these things are important. So we can't sit now and say, let's throw communication away because we need to eat food. Without communication, you're going to die also, because now the world has transformed and this is where we are. We must survive and eat one way or another. More than anything, if there's going to be a tariff hike, this is where we need to see that NCC is truly involved in the lives of Nigerians, and to make sure that whatsoever be the income whatsoever is not 100%, is not even 50%. If let's look at a margin of at most 10%, and that's when we'll be grateful. Anything higher than that, then the government is not doing us good.
Well, they said they are meeting, so right now our hopes are just hanging up, and we do not know what their final decision will be. But I love the angle which you brought in this whole conversation. And you know, while you were talking, I had to ask that question out loud. Why did we have to throw away the lifeline in the first place? Why did we have to? I mean, just living a very fake life in Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, because we just like living a very big man's life that we actually cannot afford. And just like you said, if everybody had a smartphone, I don't have to be worried. But then even with the smartphone, somebody somewhere in Abuja can reach it, despite the fact that he or she has a smartphone. So I have to be looking for exactly maybe when they are leaving and they are a particular location and I can reach them. So you can really see that it's both sides. We can look at the telecommunications side of them not doing their own work, and then we can also look at the government not doing the right thing. But let's just keep our fingers crossed. I'm hoping that after their meeting with the telecommunication providers, I'm hoping that something positive should come out of it. Even though I've never seen where the government have been on the side of Nigerians anyway, they just have a way of getting their own share. But I'm hoping that maybe they should prove Nigerians wrong this time around, because I cannot afford to send an SMS for 8 naira. Possibly Rachel will start looking for how to start using another means of communication.
Have you write letters and
maybe we should go back to writing letters and send it, even if the email said we still need the data eventually. So I don't know what would be better for us, but I hope that communication will not get very expensive, that we will not be able to afford it. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and then hope to see what will be the new tariff hike. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this.
You're welcome.
And as well, thank you to our viewers and every other person who made the program a success. Till we meet again tomorrow, please do have a great day ahead.